in Kilkenny stretches from the castle to the cathedral and is the capital of medieval Ireland. There was never much industry in Kilkenny, so it came to rely on tourism, with the Kilkenny Design Centre and festivals giving the city a cosmopolitan feel. While High Street's medieval structure survives today, some locals fear tourism has altered the city's heart. Jim Burke's grandfather opened his drapery store 120 years ago. The shop was one of the landmarks on High Street. Jim studied to be a priest, but left after 2 years to join the family business.
I decided I hadn't what it took, and I left with one or two other chaps at the same time. Well, when I finished in Kieran's, I was 20 in 1946. Then I was up on the tailor's board for about 2 or 3 years, sewing away there. And, well, trying to learn to sew. I wouldn't be that good. I always remember the first job to learn buttonholes I got was a priest soutane with 13 buttonholes. I thought I'd never get to the end of it.
Life was different in the drapery business back then.
Our families came in, they'd come in on a Saturday from the country and they shopped. And the men came upstairs and they talked to my father, and the papers were on the counter and they read the papers and discussed things. Then when the clothes were got, a bit of dealing had to be done, and then they wrote the checks or paid the cash for it, the fathers. And just like the men handled the money at that stage. The only time the women handled the money was at Christmas when they had the turkey money. They'd rear the turkeys, you see, and they went and sold them at the market. And they'd have that money then was spent on the children's clothes or whatever they wanted for themselves. It was their money. A lot of women, they used to consult him on a Saturday. If you went up and disturbed him, he could say, "Do you see I'm talking to Mrs. So-and-so, and there might be another customer waiting downstairs to see him." But you wouldn't disturb him. And the girls downstairs used to say, "Don't disturb him, he's hearing confessions now."
Ryan Electric has been on High Street for 60 years. Anne Ryan started working there when she was 17.
Well, my mum worked in the shop with my dad for all the years, and then she became ill and I took over. I suppose I didn't intend working in our own business, but I never regretted it. I love it. Hello, how are you?
Can I get a 31 fuses?
Yeah, sure. We have the same customers coming in. I can remember, in fact, their babies coming in here in the pram with the mums. And now those babies are grown up, and are coming in here with their children. This is the, oh my God, this is the workshop. And if I moved one thing out of the way, my brother would know. Most people probably say very tatty, but it's just, this is what we call old. This is old. That's a valve. That the old mains radios, they all had valves. And the valve would go, and they'd bring them in here, and my dad would fit the valves to them, and a few left around the place. Everything is obsolete, actually, in these drawers. My God, I'm lucky I'm not obsolete.
Frank Kavanagh has worked in many shops on High Street, but his memories go even further back than that.
When I was a young boy, I made my confirmation. I didn't save my confirmation money. I spent it in Miss Purcell's of High Street. Here you were being brought into a special shop. This shop sold nothing else, only ice cream. There you get a bowl of ice cream with raspberry cordial poured over the ice cream. There isn't a child in this country today would ever experience the same feeling. And boy, oh boy, was that some treat.
At the end of High Street lies the St. Francis Abbey Brewery. Pat Shortis got his first job there, aged 14.
Well, my father was in it too, you know, and had a grandfather in it, like, you know. We'd be washing bottles and that, you know, and bottling the beer and that. I had a bad record going to school. I was so much twice for not going. Sure, they'd hammer you when you had a wooden head, you know, and I had a bad time going to school, so I got out as quick as I could, you know.
High Street years ago, it was fantastic. The one thing I liked about High Street years ago was I'd come in the morning, I could park my car outside the shop, I could run across to the shop and leave the door open if I wanted to go across for a minute or something. You can't do that anymore. I'd probably come across as if I'm 150, but I do remember the horse and cart on High Street. I really do.
Well, before the war, you know, the brewery had horses at that time, and they got rid of them then. And then, when the war broke out, they had to get the horses back again. Well, no petrol or anything like that, you know, the lorries, like.
The first parking sign was, I think, put up outside what used to be O'Carroll's, just across the street here, where next to the Ulster Bank. First date was up, or a couple of days after. This fella came out, gave them, there was a pole where there was electricity, telegraph. He just tied his donkey to it and went off.
You felt a different sense of place when you were walking down the main street, because the people who lived above it were standing at the door. The aroma that you got when you walked down the high street, that came from either Elliott's food store, of roasted chickens on a spit, or the fresh fish from Sherman's just beneath us here. Oh, you'll never get that again. This was, to me, was what the main street was. I mean, the corner boys. You know, you stood against the wall was limestone, and after a while you saw the wall going black because polished limestone is Kilkenny black marble. And after work, we come down here to the main street. What we come down for, I don't know, but mostly to stand and look